If you're an OnlyFans creator in 2026, you know exactly how quickly everything can change. In this video, I'm gonna give you guys a full guide on how to get to $20,000 a month with your OnlyFans, whether you're a beginner, whether you've been there before and you fell off. This is everything you're gonna need to know in 2026 to get up to that $20,000 a month mark. So let's not waste any time, let's jump straight into it. So the first thing that I'm going to go over here is the fundamentals of business, right? The main thing that you need to do is you need to attract new customers to your page. The second thing you need to do is you need to make sure that when they get to the page, they actually buy. And the third thing you need to do is make sure that they want to come back and spend more. A lot of the things that people are doing in this space when they make a lot of money is based around promo. If you have a lot of leads, if you have a lot of people coming into the pipeline, it's very easy to make money anyways. And then when you upgrade your conversion rates and you fix your profiles, you can convert more of those people. But at the end of the day, you still need traffic to make this work, okay? And the last thing is you want to make sure that your fans don't go on the internet and talk shit about you. They come back, they turn into whales, and you make more and more money off of them, okay? So let's keep going here. So for traffic in 2026, we like to work with Instagram. Instagram is obviously the biggest one. It's where people get the most famous. We like to use Twitter. These two are good. TikTok has completely fell off a cliff. I don't recommend it unless you're using a TikTok to feed fans from TikTok over to your Instagram. But TikTok, it does not matter what you do, you're gonna get banned eventually anyways. So if you wanna use TikTok to get those followers right off the bat, you can, but do not rely on TikTok. Reddit used to work very, very well. I'm sure it still does, but you do need to be a little bit more tech savvy with this. You need to have a very, very strong niche because Reddit is based around subreddits. So if you don't fit into the niche that that subreddit is based around, then you're not gonna get accepted and you're not gonna be able to do it. So if you wanna make 20K a month, I recommend using Instagram and Twitter because those are the two biggest ones. Twitter allows you to post not safe for work content, and Instagram uses Reels, which is huge for discovery, and that's where you're gonna get most of your fans from. Now here's the caveat here. For you to make $20,000 a month, you're gonna need around 20,000 to 50,000 followers on Instagram. You're gonna need a decent sized audience simply based off the fact that not everybody is gonna wanna go to the page, not everybody is going to be one of your target audience, which I'll get into in a second here, but you do need a relatively big account for you to make a dent in this world. So I would say 20,000 to 50,000 is a good benchmark if you wanna actually make $20,000 a month. And the higher amount of followers you have, and especially if you have the right kind of followers, you're gonna make more and more money. But this is a good place to set your sights so you're not having unrealistic expectations about what is actually possible. So the first thing that you need to think about is your target audience. You should not be making videos for anybody and everybody. You should be making videos for somebody who looks like this, right? And specifically, how old is this person? Over 25 because they have money. You don't want people that are below 18 that are still living with their parents. You wanna make sure that they live in the USA or Canada, excuse my handwriting, UK or Australia, right? You want them to speak English and you want them to have a high buying power because if they're in Africa or if they're in India, they're not gonna be able to spend the money that you're charging for your pieces of content, right? So make sure they're above 25, they're in the USA, they're in Canada, UK, or Australia, or any of those first world countries that have a very strong currency. Another thing is if you're gonna be making content for somebody, you probably need to know what they're interested in. If we look at this guy, obviously just an AI generated photo, but he's probably into sports. He's probably into memes. He probably parties. Maybe cars, any of these male-dominated interests. These are the type of things that you should tap into because if you're doing videos about makeup, you're not necessarily gonna attract a male that wants to spend money on your OnlyFans. So finding a lot of these interests and making sure that they're male-dominated is very, very important. It's gonna be difficult if you don't actually like those things, but do some soul searching and find something that you like that a lot of guys like as well, right? And back here, the main thing about this is we want to make sure that they have money, they're old enough to use OnlyFans, and they're the kind of person that you want to talk to in the chats. Really, really old guys work for this too, maybe like 40 to 60. They work really, really well because they don't really understand the internet, they don't really know what AI is, they don't really know any of this stuff, and they usually have more money than they know what to do with. You know, if they're divorced or whatever, they have money to spend and they want to spend it on you. So you need to make sure you know who you're targeting. All of your content should be aimed directly at the person that you choose, and even have a photo like this guy, just so you know that every time you're making a video, it's for somebody and you're not just shooting in the dark. Next slide is I'm going to talk about the different types of creators out there, right? So you have somebody who looks a little older, right? This would be your quintessential MILF niche. She can do the mommy stuff. She can do the older person stuff where it's still hot because she's attractive and she's a little bit older. Or you can look younger. This is what they would commonly call jail, right? And this is very common in the traditional industry, if you will. When you're looking younger, this is where you use pigtails or a lot of hot pink, a lot of Hello Kitty. A lot of this stuff has been fetishized. So take a look at you and what you bring to the table and what you actually look like, and then try to fit into one of these two boxes, because these are the ones that make the most money in this space. So as an OnlyFans creator, if you want to make $20,000 a month, you need to make sure that you are posting a lot, at least once a day, 3 to 5 times a day on Instagram if you really want to grow fast. But this is not that easy because there's a few steps to it, right? So the main thing you need to do is you need to plan your content, which means finding content, right? This will be content from other people that look like you. This will be trending content. This will be the types of videos that you're going to make. Then you're going to build a document and put them all on there, because when you go to film, you don't want to have to go looking for all of these pieces of content. You want to make sure that they're all in there. You can just open up your notes app and go through them and film them all in one day. The next thing is you want to batch film, right? Nobody wants to film or feel like they're starting on zero every single day. So what you want to do is you want to batch film. So you have 1 day a week where you film all of your content. And this makes it much easier because it becomes like brushing your teeth and it becomes like a habit. And you're going to do the same thing with editing. And these are just scheduling, right? You want to make sure you're using your time to your advantage and you're not wasting a bunch of time and you're not procrastinating, because that's the number one thing that'll kill you in this. And the last thing is content schedules. You want to make sure you know what content is going out, when it's going out, and what times. If you're using times in EST, which is Eastern Standard Time, this is a common American time zone, do it at that time. If you're using a different time zone, do it at that time. But you need to make sure that you are organized, because the people who are making $20,000 per month, they have a system. They're doing things over and over and over again, and they're getting compound interest on their work, and they're not having to start from zero every single day because they have all this content filmed and they planned correctly. So the next thing is I'm going to give you a very base level on how to make content, right? So in the first 1 to 3 seconds, you need something to catch attention. If somebody's scrolling, they're like a zombie, they're looking all through all these videos, how are you supposed to stand out? So in the first 1 to 3 seconds, you need to have something that hooks them in. Something like a question or a movement of camera, right? You need to draw them in and you need to win that click. The second thing is a lot of people have a great hook, but they can't retain it. And retaining means you keep them watching all the way to the end, and this creates rewatch. You want to have something happen roughly around the middle of the video so that somebody wants to watch it to the end, right? And then that leads to the payoff, right? This would be you do something at the end that's very quick and it forces somebody to either rewind it or start from the beginning, right? So you want to hook their attention, put something in the middle to draw them again. It's almost like a rehook, and then your payoff is the reason why they want to rewatch it over and over again. So you can use this as much as you want. This is a very, very basic level, guys, so you can get deeper and deeper into this, but essentially you want to hook, you want to retain, and then you want to give them a payoff and make them watch it over and over and over again into infinity, okay? So the next step here is differentiation. The amount of models that I see out here that are copying Sophie is hilarious, because she got into the game in like 2020, right? She's just sitting in her room, she's wearing a regular outfit, like it's a good photo, right? And she already has a built-in audience, but this doesn't really work anymore. It's too basic, and people have seen this over and over and over again. Basic supply and demand says that when there's more of something, the value of it goes down, right? So if you look exactly like Sophie and you're not Sophie, it's hard to stand out because there already is a Sophie and there already is a billion other people trying to look like Sophie versus this person. This girl obviously found this character. I don't know what character this is, so if you do know, let me know in the comments. But this character is obviously from an anime, which is a male-dominated thing. Everybody knows that a lot of guys like anime. So she dressed up like her, right? She's got an outside location. She's really giving a cool kind of cinematic vibe to this. This outfit she's wearing, she would have to custom make this or go and buy it. She's really putting it on, because if you see this on your For You page, even as a woman, you're gonna sit there and say, damn, like, I remembered that. There's not a lot of people, supply and demand. When there is not a lot of people doing it, the value goes up. So you do not want to look like Sophie. You can do Sophie here and there, but you want to make sure you are creating differentiation so that when people tell their friends about you, oh, you know the girl that's like dressed up as the anime, or that one specific anime that nobody else dressed up as? Boom, 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 right here. Or the one girl who's, you know, just wearing the onesie in her bedroom, right? Super, super easy. You want to remember the supply and demand curve. The more people there are doing something, the less it's worth, and you have to do more to stand out, okay? Okay, so in this slide, I'm gonna break down a funnel done well. In 2026, you cannot have a link in your bio anymore. It really, really sucks. At this point, maybe they changed it by the time you're watching this video. So I found this girl on my Instagram when I was taking a look, and she's doing this very, very well. This is how you want to build your funnel to your OnlyFans, right? So the main thing is she does not have a link in the bio. She has, it's in my highlights, meaning right here, right? And she's clearly posted a story because you can tell it's red around her story, right? So she has this here. This is the video right here that's in her story. She's using a caption, right? Subscribe if you want to talk to me. She's clearly, I'm going to erase this. She's showing off her body, right? She's half naked. She's on the beach. This is a well done photo. The lighting is good, right? Subscribe if you want to talk to me, meaning if you're DMing her, she's not going to respond. You have to click here, right? When you click here, she has a great photo here, right? The eyes, this is a sensual photo. You can click here to open an external browser. And then this photo right here is meant to be the kill shot, right? She's drinking from a bottle. She's giving the pouty face. You can see that this photo was meant to get somebody to go over to the OnlyFans. And that's exactly what 84,000 people who like this did that. I don't know if she has 84,000 fans, but a lot of people are on her page, right? So the general idea is you cannot have a link in your bio anymore. You should be using stories and highlights. You can promote your page at night and you can post most of your stories during the day, but this is the funnel that you should be using this year in 2026 at the time of recording this. It may change in the future, but this will work for now. So one of the main things that a lot of OnlyFans creators forget is this is a community. Right? They're acting like these are just wallets with no faces or personalities, right? At the end of the day, your Instagram, your Twitter, and all the people that are following you, this is a community. So you want to reply to comments with a video. If you take a look at what this guy did here, clearly somebody commented, this is from a different industry, but clearly somebody commented and he responded answering their question, right? What this does is it allows people to see that you're actually giving a shit and you're responding to them. Or if I never saw this guy before in my life and he popped up on my For You page and he's already responding to somebody else, I feel like I'm on the outside because I don't know what the hell he's talking about. I have to go back and watch the original video to see why the question was asked in the first place, right? Another big thing is question and answers. You can do this on your story. Ooh, that is not how you spell story. You can do this on your story and you can get people to ask you questions. This builds depth, right? It builds depth and it makes you feel like a real person. You do not want to come off as an online prostitute here. You want to come off as somebody that people want to get to know, somebody who people want to talk to, because that's what the whales are going to be doing in the chats. They're going to be talking to you, asking about your life, sending you gifts. They're going to do all this stuff, but they need to connect with you first. Same thing with live streams. These are really hard to fake. So with AI, you know that it's real and people are talking to you on these live streams and they feel like they know you. This is very, very big. Polls and interactive content. They feel like they know you. They feel like you care. They feel like you are seeing them for who they are. And I hope you're seeing the pattern here. The community is important, especially on Instagram, especially and on OnlyFans. These people will not spend money with you if they feel like they are not valued. So these are the type of things that you can do to humanize yourself, build depth, build a 3D dimension to you. So you're not just an online prostitute or have an Instagram that all you do is promote your OnlyFans. You need to have a 3D character, which you already do have, you're just not using it correctly, okay? So next step here is networking, right? So I want you to take a look at this right here. So this, obviously I'm gonna use Sophie Rain here. She's a very big creator, it's very easy, right? There's 4 people in here and they've tagged each other on this, and look at the engagement here. These girls are sharing. They're insider trading, basically, right? All these girls hang out. They take a photo like this. They get 1 million likes and they get 18,000 comments, 343,000 shares, right? And they're all tagged on this. So if you have friends in the industry or if you have other creators that you've worked with before, you can make content on Instagram and share, right? You can share audiences, especially if they look like you can share with them, right? Collaborations on socials, retweet for retweet on Twitter. I guarantee that all of these girls are shouting each other out on Twitter. I guarantee that these people are sharing each other out on OnlyFans. And I guarantee that all of these girls are using the trends. They're building the trends and they're sharing it with their friends. So there's an element of insider trading here. If you have the ability to work with other OnlyFans creators, you should do it. And you should be reaching out to other creators that maybe are a little bit bigger than you and network with them and talk with them and see if you can pull something like this off. Because I guarantee the fact that there are 4 girls in this picture right here made it go more viral, because every single guy that looks at this is like, oh, I like this one, right? Oh, I don't like that one. I like the redhead. Oh, okay, I like Sophie. Oh, I like this one, right? This photo right here is catching so many different audiences, and it's really, really strong, because if you have a smaller Instagram or you have to start from 0 after a ban, this is exactly what you should be doing, okay? The next kind of chapter here is I'm going to be breaking down some profile optimization stuff and how to make them buy, right? So this will be your profile photo, your cover photo, your bio, visible content, your pricing discount. We're jumping on over to OnlyFans world here. So I'm going to break down a couple big creators and what they're doing correctly so that you can basically steal it. I'm going to deconstruct what they're doing, okay? So let's jump to the next page here. So the main thing on OnlyFans is you're going to need at least 100 to 200 pieces of content on your feed, because it's visible to somebody before they subscribe. So I'm going to jump on over to the next slide here and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so this is Lena the Plug. She's huge. If you see here, she has 1.82 million likes on this, 5.8K photos, and then 439 videos, right? So let's pretend, for example, if I am a fan and I jump onto this page, right? Okay, I'm thinking about buying this, but I don't know if I should, right? The fact that there is like 6,000 pieces of content on her feed, I just know for a fact there's going to be something there for me, right? It allows the person to think that, okay, this person is actually posting here and they're not just stealing money from people, basically. Next thing I'm going to be looking at, or the first thing realistically, is this photo right here. This is 100% engineered to get a reaction out of a man. Same thing with the link that we talked about on the previous slide. This type of thing is meant to get a reaction, and same thing with her profile photo, right? So things like this, if you really don't know what to do, take a look at Lena the Plug, take a look at Sophie, take a look at the biggest OF creators, and just take a look at their page, right? You can take a look at this, you can take a look at this, you don't have to directly copy, but like there's hundreds of people that are using this exact same pose because it's a pretty common pose, right? So you can steal from these creators, and I really do encourage you to, and not steal it in the same uniform, in the same angle. Like you can just steal the posing and what they're doing there, right? So the next thing I want to talk about here is the bio, right? So obviously this is a controversial one, your fave S word. And then she talks about this, right? One-on-one chatting, daily updates, everything uncensored, everything that you'll get. See, she's really just like, what do you get? I'm gonna change this to white, right? Because if somebody's gonna be spending money, I wanna know what I'm getting, right? So she tells you everything you're getting, she shows you a little bit about what she's getting, and then the social proof of how many other people have already bought it. This is all helping somebody make a decision, and that's what leads me into the next point on the next page here, which is your pricing, right? So if we look at Lena, this is still Lena, I screenshotted both of these. She's using a limited time offer, right? It ends August 7th, meaning this is giving pressure, it's giving time pressure. The next 10 people to DM me sins, right? But hurry, this deal won't last long, right? This is all scarcity, and she's taking the offer off the table. Most of the time, they just start another promotion anyways, but in this, it's making somebody think like, oh, I'm gonna miss out on this opportunity. She's using $19.99 a month, which is great because that's very, very high, and somebody only pays $4 for 31 days. If you're gonna be high or low on your pricing, I recommend you always go higher, because if you want to decrease your price on OnlyFans and not a lot of people are buying it, it will not notify any of your fans. You can reduce the price without telling anybody. But if you want to increase the price from $10 to $15, it will tell all your fans. So that means most people forgot that they were subscribed to you, or they're gonna cancel, right? So always start as high as you can. I would say like $14 or $13. Even if you don't get a lot of subs at that price, low ballers won't buy it. The people who will buy this will be higher quality anyways, and you can always bring the price down without losing all of your fans. But if you start at $5, then if you want to increase the price when you're popping off and making a ton of money, right, you can't do that without telling all your fans. Okay? So the idea is to start as high as you can and then reduce it if you need to. But don't start low and try to bring it back up, because OnlyFans will basically crush you, and it'll tell all your fans that you're increasing your price, and most of them forgot they were subscribed anyways, and that really, really sucks, okay? So let's move on to the next page here. So these are the types of content that you should be having on the feed, and what I mean by on the feed is this stuff right here, right? It shows the fan what they're gonna see on the feed, right? This is what's all visible on the feed. So you should be having at least 25% nudity if you have a paid page. If you're doing SFW, just completely ignore this, you can do whatever you want. But what we've found is we want to avoid a fan feeling scammed. So if I buy this and I'm like, oh, there's not even any nudity, I have to go to the chats. There's not a single piece of nude content. That would suck for me. I would feel scammed, right? I would go to these forums and tell everybody how badly I was treated, right? So we like to say 25% nudity and 75% non-nude. No intercourse, nothing crazy, simply plain nudity, and with photos and videos, right? You wanna have some photos and some videos, don't go too crazy. You want to save a lot of your good stuff for the chat, because that's where the real money is made. But you need to have something on the feed, from my experience, right? If somebody buys it for $5 or $6 and they want to turn rebill on, right? If they see some good shit on your feed, they're probably going to turn rebill on. But if it really, really sucks and it looks like you're just trying to get $1 out of them, they're not going to turn rebill on, and it sucks. So you need to make sure that your feed is managing expectations. If somebody's buying something and you put something in your bio and they don't see it, right, besides collabs or any of that good stuff, you can write in your bio that all collabs are done through the chat or whatever like that. But you need to make sure that if somebody buys your subscription and gets through the paywall, then they actually enjoy it and they want to come back, right? Because if they feel scammed, they're not going to come back, and who knows, they might even go tell everybody, or go in your comment section, or go on these websites and forums, or leak your stuff. You want to make sure that the fans coming in are actually happy with what they see on the feed, and that's going to make them want to come over to the chat as well, right? Your pinned post is very important too. So you want to be baiting people into the chat. Again, most of the money is made in the chat here. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that the top pinned comment, see if I can draw a pin here. So that's my pin. So you're pinning pieces of content that are really, really good, and it gets people going. People have this thing in their brain that the first thing they see is super important, right? This is why hooks are so important. The first thing you see is the most important because it tells you whether you should keep listening or not. Pinning 1 to 3 posts on your feed is going to be huge, and all of this is chronological order, because if you're uploading newer and newer and newer stuff, all of the newest stuff is going to be at the top. So this just allows you to control what they see first. You can say, hey, I'm more active in the DMs. You should hit me up there. If you want to see a collab, X, Y, and Z, you should be driving people over to the chats, and you can do this with your pin posts. You can do this with your captions. You can do this with the way that the profile is set up. So all of this stuff, you need 25% nudity, 75% non-nude, and you need to manage the expectations of the page so that if somebody comes and buys something from you, they don't leave immediately and want a refund or go and tell everybody you suck, which really, really sucks. So like I alluded to a little bit in the last slide, chatting is where 80% of the money is made. We're not making money off subscriptions here. We do a little bit, but we want to make sure that we're getting VIP whales that are buying a lot of content in the chats. So this is how you chat correctly. You need to organize your vault. You need to build some lists. You need to use the QSQ formula, your LTV, and updating the page. So this is what I'm going to be talking about in this section right here. So let's keep going, okay? So the real goal here with your chatting is to have a repeatable system. You need to be able to do this daily because chatting is actually the hardest part about this. And this is why a lot of people hire us and hire other management, is because it's so much work. You have to promote, you have to chat, you have to do PPVs. Like there's just a lot of work to be done, and chatting is actually the most time intensive out of all of this, right? So you need a repeatable system that you can use daily, and it becomes a habit just like brushing your teeth, okay? So let's keep going here. So the first thing I want to talk about is organizing your vault, right? We've had creators come on where their vault is just everywhere and it's so unorganized, and it doesn't really seem like that big of a deal at the time, but when you have a really, really big account and you have tons of people coming in every single day, it's going to be very difficult to find feed content, for example. Right? Or maybe it's solo content or whatever you want to sell to that person. You don't want to have to go through all of your content and try to find it at that time. So this is where creating folders, right, for PPVs, maybe trailers, maybe solo stuff, maybe scripts. You want to create folders because if you're chatting yourself, it's going to be very, very difficult to do this, and it's super time intensive, and it really, really sucks. Okay, so you want to tag and label stuff too. This is just going to make the searching easier, right? So when somebody buys a piece of content, you're not keeping them waiting, and you know what's in your vault and you know what isn't, right? The next thing is housekeeping and removals. If content is super, super old, or if it was a custom for one person or any of this stuff, like you can remove this because it's just cluttering up your vault, right? The more organized you are with your vault, the better it is, and the easier it's going to be to sell because you know what you have in there and you're not trying to guess where it is and be super disorganized, okay? So let's keep going here. So the biggest thing that I've seen, besides like literally knowing how to sell, is understanding what kind of fans are coming to your page, right? So the first type of fan that will come to your page is a freeloader. This guy's not gonna buy fucking anything, right? And you need to make sure that you sniff him out very, very quickly. So what we do with freeloaders, or just any new fan that comes to the page, is you wanna try and sell him something, okay? So you wanna try and sell him something cheap, down money. So you got to sell him something cheap, because if he doesn't buy something cheap relatively quickly, he's not going to buy anything at all, right? And this isn't a one-time thing, like this isn't a blanket statement, but you do need to understand that some people just don't want to fucking pay for anything, pardon my French, right? So freeloaders are very common, especially from Twitter or from people that are just straight gooners. A lot of these people want shit for free. They'll try to bully you, they'll try to make fun of you, or they'll try to like shame you into giving them stuff for free, which I don't know how that works, but these people should be avoided at all costs, and you need to build a list of them, right? If you know people are freeloaders and you try to sell them something and they never buy anything, just label them. Like label them freeloader. And never talk to them unless they all of a sudden start buying, which they usually never will. The second thing is a transactional kind of person. These are the people that just kind of want a PPV, they bounce in, right? You send them a PPV, they'll buy it sometimes, but these people aren't really just like chatting all the time. They're just kind of chilling. They don't really care. They'll buy one thing, one off. It's good to make some extra money on the side, but these people are not the people we want to try and find here. 80% of the money that is made in this business is made from 20% of the people, and that's the VIPs. These are the people that buy scripts. These are the people that buy everything, no matter how expensive. Okay, so these people are relatively hard to come by, as you can probably imagine, because every single person in the world wants them, right? And if they have a lot of money, then they're probably following other models other than you. You know, gasp. So the main thing is you want to avoid freeloaders. It's big X, red X over this guy. So you want to avoid freeloaders. You need to make sure that they're in a list so that you're not treating freeloaders like they're VIPs. You need to categorize these people and make sure that if you're going to be chatting and doing this yourself, that you have some sort of system and you have some sort of way to know who's going to buy and who isn't. Because if it was me, I wouldn't want to spend any time on freeloaders, and I'd imagine you're pretty similar as well. Transactional people, they can stay. I mean, you can send PPVs, you can make a little bit of money off of them, but they're not really going to be your top spenders, and only a very, very small amount of people will be your top spenders, obviously. But it's important to have a list for these transactional kind of guys too, because you don't want to give them VIP service if it's not even going to resonate with them in the first place. Like, maybe they'll change their mind and they'll, you know, start saying, hey baby, I had so much fun with you, but it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Like, most people won't change. These people are the ones that are like obsessed with you and they'll buy anything you give them. So you obviously need a VIP list, and you don't send them PPVs. You do one-on-ones only with VIPs. Okay, this is getting a little cluttered. I'm gonna clear this out. But that's a general idea. Okay, so this is a formula that I actually coined myself when I was doing door-to-door sales. And one thing when you're chatting is it's very, very easy to just ask a ton of questions, right? Like, hey, how are you? Cool, he responds, good. Where are you from? Here. Sorry, my handwriting is horrible. Where are you from? Here. What do you do? Like, you see how this is kind of like interrogating them, right? Hey, how are you? Where are you from? What do you do? Why are we doing this, right? It's too many questions in a row. So what I've found is you want to break it up with one question, one statement, one question. So for example, hey, how are you? This is the fan. Good. Great. I just got back from the gym. Right? He'd probably say, good, you here. Great, just got back from the gym. This is a statement, right? You're not like, good, I'm great, what about you, right? This is, you're just giving him a statement, and it allows him to ask the next question. How was it? How was it? This is obviously very quick, right? But amazing. I'm still sweaty. Want to see? I'm going to try and do like a winky face. That's my winky face. So generally, you want to use question, statement, question, right? You never want to ask 2 to 3 questions in a row. And if you've ever talked to a guy that's very, very clingy and needy, this is what they do. Hey, how are you? Oh my God, that's so awesome. Where are you from? Blah, blah, blah. It's just too many questions. It feels interrogating. So you want to make sure that you're breaking it up with a statement about yourself, and that allows them to elaborate and come back at you, right? That's a general formula. Chatting does go very, very deep, but that's a good place to start if you have no idea what the heck you're doing, okay? So the LTV. So essentially what this means is this is long-term value, right? This means that if you get a fan, how long is he staying on your page before he leaves, right? And the biggest thing that happens here is people get greedy, right? You try to rake it in and take all of his money, and you don't even listen to him. You're not gathering information. You're not doing any of that stuff, right? This is very, very bad because A, they leave, and B, they tell a bunch of people, right? And then you get a bad reputation, and everyone knows you as like the one who's scamming, right? So essentially how you can do this is you need to cool them down. Say you have a really, really expensive night for him. Say he spends like $500, right? At the end of the night, you don't just ghost them and disappear, right? What you need to do is you need to say, oh my God, babe, that was so good. I had so much fun for you. I hope we do it again sometime, right? You say goodnight to him and you give him that reward. When I was doing high ticket sales, when they buy, you give them a high five, boom, how you feel, you get them excited, right? If people are spending money, you need to make sure that they feel appreciated, right? And a lot of people don't do this shit. A lot of people just go to sleep, sucker, what an idiot, right? This guy just leaves, right? And he would have been a great spender if you would have just taken care of him. And another thing here is that gathering information, names, remembering names, nicknames, you know, where they live, which actually helps you because you can see if they're in a tier 1 country or not. Like, just remembering details about people makes them feel really, really important, and especially these people, because they obviously don't have a lot of connection from a beautiful woman in their life anyways, right? So this tiny little connection, or like give a shit-able that you can tell these people, is really, really big for them because it means a lot, and that's why they're here, right? And market research and fulfilling demand, essentially this is listening to what they want. Like, say somebody likes feet and you're just like continuously trying to sell him something else, right? He's gonna know that, okay, you're even fucking listening to me. Like, why am I even here? right? So you need to be looking at what people are asking for, ask people what they like, know what their kinks are, and take a look at the patterns on your page as a whole, because that's going to tell you what kind of fans you have. And then say everyone on your feed is a feet guy, right? You can run feet promo stuff, right? You can do like holiday themed feet videos. I'm just spitballing here, but essentially like looking at what people actually want. These guys are the ones with the money. Like they're going to give you money for something you give them. So you might as well give them something that they want instead of trying to just imagine what they want and give them what you think they want instead of what they actually want, right? So let's keep going here. So the next step is updating your page, right? What I like to say is like, imagine if you signed up for ChatGPT and it's like $20 a month or whatever it is, and they just never fucking updated it. Like imagine that, right? It would suck. You would turn off the subscription and you would go somewhere else, right? If you're going to be charging a monthly subscription for something, you better be uploading things and new things for them to look forward to, or they're going to turn off, rebill, right? If you want people to stick around and pay that $15, $20 a month, then you need to give them something to wait around for, right? This is done through PPVs, themed content, feed posts, and captions, right? Your PPVs and theme posts are similar, right? Like what we do with our models, say it's Valentine's Day, we'll be like, all right, let's do a themed post for Valentine's Day, or it's your birthday, right? You're gonna do a birthday bash. Doing these kind of holiday seasonal things are really, really good. A, because they see it everywhere at Walmart, they see it everywhere at the Halloween store, they see them all over the place. So they're really, really used to it, but it's something that they can look forward to. Like, hey, you're not gonna believe what I did for St. Patrick's Day. This is very, very big. Feed posts are huge too, because feeds are part of the algorithm, right? So if this guy here has 10 different models that he's following and they're all posting daily on the feed, but you don't, you're just invisible, right? They don't remember who you are. There's not another touch point here, which means in marketing, you need to remind somebody you exist like 15 times before they'll even ever look at you, right? So you need to have touch points and create your feed and post a lot on your feed with good captions that draw people to the chat, right? So this is how you update your page. You need to be telling people new content, explicit content, non-explicit content, feed posts, and you want to make sure that you are active there, because if somebody's going to be spending $15 a month on your page and you haven't posted in 6 months, like how do you expect those people to justify staying with that, right? They either forgot or they're like stupid, right? So you need to be updating as much as you can. Okay, so let's keep on going on. Yeah. So the last thing that I'm going to be talking about here is hiring. So if you get to the point where you're making $10,000 to $15,000 a month, or you've already been there, you recognize how much work this actually is. You're chatting all day, you're making content all day, you're making your explicit content all day, you're dealing with fans, you're dealing with DMCA leaks, you're doing all of this shit, and it becomes so much work that it's almost not even worth it at that point. So this is where you need to hire and clone yourself. So I'm going to talk about how to clone yourself, the types of employees that you're going to be hiring, where to find them, how to know if they're good, and also management at the end. Okay, so let's keep going here. So the main idea with hiring is you want to buy your time back and delegate, right? If you're working 80 hours a week, is it really that fun? Is that what you got into this for? No, right? So buying your time back, and a lot of people give management and hiring a bad rep, especially on Reddit, but this is the only way to scale. If you want to work 80 hours a week, be my guest. But if you want to buy your time back and actually build a real business that you don't have to be in there every single day, keep watching, okay? So the first thing that you're gonna hire is a chatter, 100%, right? These guys will chat for you, and you essentially don't even have to talk to the fans anymore. You're gonna have to talk to your chatter, right? You're gonna have to train him and make sure that he's saying the right things. A lot of them do have results and they do have their own credentials, but you're gonna have to talk to your chatter. You might even have to chat a little bit yourself, because they can realistically only work for 12 hours. So if you want 24-hour service, you're gonna have to work the other 12, or you're gonna have to hire multiple chatters, okay? Virtual assistants, these guys kind of just help you out, right? They'll move files, they'll post on feed, you know, they can write captions. These people just kind of help you out with any shit you don't really want to do, basically. So chatters will make you money, and virtual assistants just kind of take load off of this. These are the two common ones for creators. There's a lot more on the agency side, but if you're a creator and you want to buy your time back and you're just absolutely ripping your hair out with too much work, these are the two types of people that you're going to want to look for first, okay? So the next step is where to find them. The main one is onlinejobs.ph. Now, caveat with this, you cannot use OnlyFans, sorry, this is horrible, OnlyFans keywords. So you can't say, I'm looking for an OnlyFans chatter on OnlineJobs.ph. You can't do that. You have to be like, I'm looking for a sales representative. You cannot use OnlyFans. You cannot use it because they don't like it, right? I'm not telling you to go do it because it is technically against TOS, but if you do decide to do it, there's some good shit here. Reddit, this is essentially a search that I found on Reddit, hiring chatters, hiring chatters, hiring chatters, hiring chatters, hiring chatters, right? So you can go on Reddit and search up, you know, how to hire chatters or look for them, and you can post ads there, right? Facebook groups are really big. I've only really seen a few of them recently. The main ones, if you want to hire chatters, is through Reddit, onlinejobs.ph, and take a look on a Facebook group if you can as well. But those are the main places that you'll put up ads, and now I'm going to teach you how to vet them correctly so that you're not hiring a dumbass, right? So the main thing that we do when we hire is we hire people based off their demeanor. So say somebody, like I put an ad up and I'm looking for a virtual assistant, right? So let's just say VA, for example here, right? I'm looking for a VA, these are like super detailed, and then they just say, hello. I'm not gonna respond to that, right? This is just somebody who's like, oh, is the chatter position still available? Is the VA position still available? Like, they didn't really put any work into this message. They didn't care, right? And you'll notice this because you'll get a ton of messages and there'll be one that just says, hello. And then there'll be one, hey sir, here are my credentials. I've been in the game for this long, 10 years. Here's my portfolio, blah, blah, blah. Like, you'll see people who will put a lot of time and energy in that first message, and then you'll see people who are like, hey, is the chatter position still open? It's like, okay, you're gonna notice this very quickly once you start doing this, but their demeanor and professionalism is important, right? Then you're gonna interview them. Obviously, you want to interview these people. You don't just wanna hire everybody. You wanna make sure that they have a portfolio. They have some results, especially with chatters, right? So if they've shown you results, a lot of people fake these, so be careful. But I usually use the gut test, right? If I'm hopping on a call with somebody and I can just kind of tell they're weird, I don't want to work with them. I want to work with people I enjoy working with that are smart in their intelligence, and I want to make sure that I like these people. So you want to have the portfolio and results, and then do an interview with them and see the vibe check. The main thing is you're going to want to test them on this too, and how you test them is essentially you would just pretend to be a fan. Like, I'm going to pretend to be a fan, and you pretend to be my chatter, and see how this goes. The main thing is you don't want to give them green light messages. You don't want to say, hey, how are you? Oh my God, I'm so ready to buy content, right? You want to give them objections, and you want to give them some of the common objections that you get, right? And see how they handle it. And that's how you're going to test them. A lot of them will suck at this, and honestly, objections can be tough. Not every single objection is solvable, but when you're getting on the call with these people, you want to make sure that you are testing them and you are batch interviewing them as well. You want to interview maybe 3 to 4 people, not at the same time, but just in general, to see which one is the best, and then pick your very best off the top cream of the crop. So the next thing here is full-blown management. That's what I do. Essentially, we help creators with every single thing that they could possibly need, so they don't have to go out and find all these employees, or maybe they don't even want to be an entrepreneur and have to develop training programs and like keep an eye on people that are working, right? Sometimes you just don't want to be the boss. You just want to make some money and have a strategic partnership, which is what management is. So the big thing about management is red flags, right? There's a lot of fucking losers that are making these agencies, like a 15-year-old kid that watched an Andrew Tate video one time, and they're hitting up your DMs with LARPed Instagram, fake testimonials. Like, it's really bad. So I would say just be very careful with who you trust. And I would be very careful with any of this shit. So if you're going to sign with an agency, you should talk to them and do the gut check. Same thing as last time. Gut check. Do these guys feel good to me? Do they feel like they're credible? A lot of times there are new agencies that are really, really good too, but this comes down to the gut check, and this comes down to you. Like, do I actually want to wake up every single day and have to talk to this person? That's a lot of the stuff that I think about when I'm hiring or working with people. Do I want to wake up every single day and like have to deal with this guy, right? Do I like him? That's not everything, but you want to make sure that they have some results. If they don't have results, then they have something that's alluring you. Be very, very careful. There are a lot of bad people in this space, and there are a lot of bad agencies, right? Most agencies started watching a fucking Andrew Tate video and thinking they're an online pimp. I hate that vernacular. It pisses me off. I think that's ridiculous. It's a bunch of guys that are using management to try to like hook up with their models or something like that. That really, really angers me. We've had tons of horror stories from other models coming from other agencies to ours. I've seen people have like, a 20% stake in their own OnlyFans. I've seen people have the agency's bank account on the OnlyFans. I've seen agencies that have like tied them into the worst contracts you could possibly imagine for anything. I've seen them DMC takedown. Like, I've seen horrible, horrible stuff. So be very, very careful with this stuff. Be careful with who you trust, and make sure that if you're going to work with somebody, that you know what you're looking for, right? And the percentages, I'm going to talk about the general idea. I've heard that Jack Doherty takes 80% of his models, leaving 20% to his models, which is crazy. Most of the agencies out there are doing 50-50. I've seen people do 60, 65, 70. Most of the percentages are from the 50 to 40 range if you're working with somebody decent. If you're working with a major like LA studio, they'll be a little bit cheaper, but the problem is they have like 40 to 50 to 500 models, right? So you're not going to get the attention that you would get from a smaller agency. Like if they're giving you a 25% stake, they don't give a shit about you at all. Like it's churn and burn. Oh, there's another girl coming in. Cool, we don't really give a shit, right? So there is a level of you get what you pay for, right? If they're only taking 25%, then they probably don't have the incentive to actually try very hard on your account. Keep that in mind. That's just a general idea of the type of stuff that goes out there, right? So if you want to work with us directly, what you can do is you can go to the link in the description or the top pinned comment. What I'm doing right now is I'm offering a free 30-minute audit. You have to qualify for this. You go through an application process. If you make it through the application process, you can book a 30-minute call with me directly, and we can talk about your OnlyFans page, we can talk about your Instagram, we can talk about your chatting, we can talk about all the things that you're currently doing, and we can get you as close as possible to this 20K a month or more, right? So what we're looking for here is we're not looking for beginners, we're looking for people who have some experience in the space, we're looking for people who have an Instagram, an OnlyFans account. We're not looking for people who don't even have an OnlyFans account yet. It's impossible for us to work with somebody like that because most of our job is management of the page and making sure that it works, right? So if you don't have an OnlyFans page, you cannot make a call with us, right? So you have to have an OnlyFans, you have to have some sort of motion, you have to be in the space for longer than a day or, longer than right after this video. You have to have some motion, okay? And our philosophy here, the general idea is there's just a lot of people out there in this space that got in way early and they've been fucking people over for years. Our goal is to make sure that these types of creators are making the type of money that they deserve. If you're gonna be in this kind of industry, it doesn't really make sense to do it for $600 to $700 a month. So our goal here is to make sure that you, as a model, as a creator, all you do is make content and post it on the internet. We will handle your chatting, we will handle leak removal. This is a bad color to choose here, leak removal. We will handle content ideas, we can send them to you. We will help your niche and brand. And we will essentially do everything but film and post, right? You have to film, you have to post, but we'll do everything else on the back end. So if you want to apply to book a call with me, you can do that in the link in the top pinned comments, or you can do it in the description. I'd love to talk to you if you fit the bill for us. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this. I hope this was valuable. I hope this was something that helped you. If you feel I missed anything in this video, make sure to comment and let me know, and I can potentially do that in the next video. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next one.